celebrate a very special day in the church. This is our birthday. I remember when I was little, we actually had a priest who had us sing happy birthday in the church, just to make an impression on us that this is the birthday of the church. So we have the apostles who are after the death of Jesus. They're up in this upper room. They're scared to death. Even after Jesus appears to them, that's not enough. So yes, they believe. They've seen the resurrection. They know all his promises came to fulfillment. All is right in the world.
That's fine. But they're not going out and preaching. They're still scared. They're still not completely the evangelists he wants them to be. Until the Holy Spirit comes. You can imagine their mindset. Okay, we've seen the Lord risen. We know the truth. We have this fire in our hearts. But are we going to stay in this upper room the rest of our lives? I mean, is this where we're supposed to preach the gospel? And so that unrest and maybe that unknowing what was to come next, Jesus promised he would send them an advocate, that he would send them someone to help them speak. And so now they're waiting for him. But they're not just waiting restlessly. They're praying. From the Ascension to Pentecost, they prayed the 9 days, the novena. That's where we get the word novena from. It's those 9 days that they prayed. They're scared. They're at the end of their rope. They don't know what's coming next. And they're praying with all their hearts. Now, as I was meditating on this, and I thought it's the birthday of the church, what precedes a birthday is a birth. And what precedes a birth is a pregnancy and labor. Now, I've never been pregnant myself, and I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. You feel the labor pains, you give birth. And St. Paul will say at one point, the woman doesn't remember the pains after the birth. My sister would beg to differ with that a little bit. They don't remember the pains because they see the joy of their child. Some people would say, my pregnancy, my delivery was painless. It's now that I have the pain. A little later on, if you know what I mean. So, the pangs, the contractions, which are very painful, signify new life. They signify something new is happening. Like Jesus says in the book of Revelation, see, I make all things new. Something new is happening here. I think this is a problem for us because we shy away from pain. We shy away from discomfort. I think we're Epicureans at heart. Less pain, more pleasure. That's what we want to pursue. And yet if we look at that pain as birth pangs, that new life, new possibility can come from that. That we might embrace them in a different way. Because let's face it, we're not going to avoid pain in this life. As much as we try to, we're going to encounter it at some point. It's just the way it is. But sometimes we shy away from it, or we're resentful because of it. And because of that, new life cannot come. Now think about it. Think of these apostles. It wasn't right after the resurrection that the Holy Spirit came. It wasn't right after the ascension that they saw him go up and say, oh, everything's glorified, let's go out and do this. It was when they were at the end of their rope. They were totally empty. Jesus had left them. They're afraid for their lives. They're locked up in a room. And that was the perfect disposition for a Pentecost. Because you see, if they weren't empty, they can't be filled. If we're already filled up, if I'm a little uncomfortable, but life is good and no worries here, or I'm taking care of myself so I don't have to experience these things, then we're already filled up. Think about, if we think back on our life, usually those major life changes that we have made or will make were preceded by some kind of great tragedy. Something that really just kind of brought us down to the depths, emptied us out, dried us out. We're at the end of our ropes. That's the perfect disposition. That's a perfect situation for a Pentecost to occur. The birth pangs that Jesus will speak of, the birth pangs that signify new life, are those birth pangs that he at times wants us to embrace. The things that will pare us down, that will empty us out. Remember, green wood doesn't burn. The wood has to be dried out first, and then a fire can be set. And I would propose, just as the apostles were at the end of their rope, that they had been emptied out, that they had been dried out, so too the Lord is going to allow us to encounter those times in our life when we think we're lost, or when we're totally empty, or we can't depend on ourselves or others anymore. And if you ever come to that point, beware, because that is the perfect situation. It's the perfect disposition for a Pentecost.